Good morning, everyone. Today we have the epicentrism number 127. And we are going to start this debate. And we would like to say that every year we have a week of an international week of Conscienciology promoted by ISIC. And today we want to say thank you very much to ISIC for this opportunity, the translators. We have this epicentrism at the same time translated to Spanish and English. So you can follow it through the website, and the material for this epicentrism is available in English and Spanish, and people from other countries can participate, can send their questions, comments, and we can then translate here and answer your questions. So thank you very much. And we are going to give more details about this event. We have some on-site events and free of charge here at CIEC. During this International Weekend of Conscienciology, it's a partnership between ISIC and CIEC. So we have some events online and some on-site events. You can enroll through the website of CIEC, and we invite you to enroll so we can know how many people are attending. So today we have the Consciential Epicentrism-Phytoectoplasmy synergies, and the definition, this synergies is the potentialization of the intrasubstantial effects resulting from the association of this condition of lucid consciential epicenter with these energies from nature and the connections we have here with the teams, extra-physical, expanding this integration. So we are going to use these definitions later on, and this is something that we are dealing with for a long time in our planet. And nowadays, as we are living this period of pandemics, we have a better condition to have these isolations from places we have been forced to be. And we are dealing now with this need to go deeper into these self-reflections. And we have realized that people who have these affinities with plants could develop it, and other people without it could start developing it. And we see from the reports from people the importance of this integrated condition with these immanent energies from all botanic principles we have. So we have these integrations with several principles, and this is something that can bring us a bioenergetic condition to deal with the situations we face. And this synergies shows how this approximation of nature, how it can potentialize the intrasubstantial process, and especially the condition of the epicon, the person can facilitate this process. And this is the topic for our debate today. And here in the paper, I bring some aspects of lignin, which is a complex structure formed by similar parts, and the cellulose, which will give the structure, solidity. And then in the Dictionary of Arguments of Conscienciology, Valdo Vieira brings a chapter about lignin and some hypotheses. And I bring here in the paper the lignin is a fundamental element of this composition and structure of the phytoectoplasm. Not only in this dimension, but also from the multidimensional point of view. So this hypothesis fits very well with these perceptions of well-being many people have just by looking at a vegetable or plant. And sometimes it's difficult to live in a house. We have to live in flats without a big garden, but people can make a small garden inside the house. You can have a specific place near the window, for example, and people can build up this environment. And although it's a small environment, it can help you because you can observe the plants. And many people can report this well-being, this feeling of well-being. And this effect from the immanent energy is very important. And the idea here is to call your attention for this. So there are some hypotheses we are dealing with. And I want to remind you that here we should stress the principle of disbelief. So don't believe in anything, but have your own experiences. And we have helpers helping us with this relationship with vegetable principles and animals also. So this life as Homo sapiens here is important to integrate and to work together on, under this Holocene. So after this hypothesis, we are going to bring some questions about assistance by identifying these theories of these synergies and to start using cosmoetically these energies. So when we do this, from a Penta point of view, for example, we can then go to a condition of a more advanced Holocene in terms of intersubstantiality. We have the condition of the green finger, people who have more experience on this Holocene and have this affinity with species from nature, and people who can deal with gardening. And also we have a paradox that some people cannot interact with plants or pets. So we have to understand the difference between the people. And it's interesting to start these differences, up to which point we can deal, we can manage, and after a certain point, we cannot advance on this line. So the lucid projections are also a good indicators of this relationship. Sometimes we have lucid projections, volitive projections in specific environments. And the energies from this environment sometimes can be used for the assistance. So we have to think about these projections also. And when we start working with a more explicit assistance, as an Epicon, for example, if we pay attention to this condition, we can then go deeper into a more technical process in terms of using or learning new ways to apply phytoenergies to amplify the interassistential process. So this is important to keep some tasks, because some of these tasks are very complex and serious. We have one chapter in the Projections of a Consciousness, a chapter from Valdo Vieira, in which he reports meeting a conscience, doing the same work in an open area. And this was decimated, a conscience. And for a long time, this was like ambulatory. And some work of this type are structured in an environment, even if this environment is very complex. There is a hypothesis with some source of immanent energies to keep the work. There are many other reports about this. I'm talking about projections now. For example, we have long periods of this kind of assistance. So we have to think about the creation of these fields, helping to keep the condition and the recovery of these consciousnesses. And this is a field we don't know very much about. And at the end of this first part, we are going to talk about the physical basis. There is a hypothesis about this. When we decide, for example, to start Penta, the whole human life will converge into this practice of Penta. It's not possible to adjust Penta, but it's important to optimize all the aspects of my life in order to develop Penta in a good way. In a more rational way, a lucid way, and this is possible from the recycling processes we undergo. And from this perspective, the physical basis is very important. Hernani Brito has presented in January this year about the help port, or the physical basis as a technical place to receive the helpers. So we have optimized resources, so the interactions between the consciousness from the assistant with the helpers, with the technical helpers, helping on this multidimensional task. So in this physical basis, when we have the possibility to have a small garden, this will help a lot. Because in our conception, we can say that this will make the environment lighter. And this is a kind of relaxing environment, and this natural environment allows this. So we can, if you don't know the campus of CIEC, we invite you to come here to know the campus. We have many people who nowadays are here at CIEC, people who used to watch online the activities, And now they are here dealing with this nature here. And this region where we are, this area of these three countries, is a place with a chakra, with a natural chakra. And we have abundance of lignin. And so the CIEC promotes all these activities based on this favoring environment we are. And in the bibliography, I cite here some references. One is from the Dictionary of Argument, which is Ernego saying the start of the sceneries and these environments created to facilitate, to give the energetic source or the energetic basis for the work. And these are places people can reflect for a long time, and they can get much better in terms of energies. And it's necessary to break our routines, our daily life routine, to reflect. And this natural environment is perfect for that. And one environment helping this a lot, I did not mention here, is a verbiage from Dulcidal about botanic self-reflectarium, or a place you can reflect, make self-reflections. So it's important to reflect about this. So the gardens from these perspectives are very important to care for the garden. And it's not necessary to be a professional gardener, but having a garden will help and will contribute a lot to this parapsychic interassistential process. And now we are going to present the condition of the helpers. We have technical helpers specialized on phytoectoplasm. And we see this in the course ECP2, organized by IIPC. And due to the pandemics, we don't have it now, but we will restart soon. And here at CIEC, we have other field courses also. Acoplamentarium is available now from August. And in these courses, we can observe some helpers which are experts on this aspect of phytoectoplasm. We have also courses from Consecutivos and other CIs. And when we have the opportunity to make these activities linked to nature, we can have the paraperceptions. And we have also the concepts helping. And we can guess that some of these helpers had previous experiences dealing with nature. They are ex-druids, ex-healing people dealing with nature. So for my case, I selected 3 experiences, which are very important for me. And they are correlated to the team. So the first is about when I moved to Foz do Iguaçu. I moved to one house in 2007, April. And in 2009, I started planting some things, podocarp. They are very used here. And if you let them, they grow very fast, very high. And I wanted to cover the wall with all these plants. And one of them did not grow. All of them had reached 3 meters, but one was still very small. And they have received the same care. And it was, and then I had this experience, like I made it like a zoom, and I could see a consciex on this tree. And I could feel this energy. And I was trying to help this consciex, and I realized that this consciex had been away. So this case, was the first time I had this kind of experience. We had, normally we have routine experiences to deal or to get presents, plants and flowers, and one gets better than another, grows faster. But in this case, I could realize this condition. And this condition to have only one tree not developing like the others was the first time for me. And then last year, in September last year, I went to the garden one day, and I did not plan this, but I realized that everything I did plant before, they were like a kind of barrier. And I associated this to a delicyst holotocene to protect my house. And I think this was also a defense for the house. When I moved to my own house here in Cognopolis, during one tertulia, I talked to Valdo about the physical basis, and he answered. He mentioned about the parapsychic process, and he said, our physical basis, we should defend, we should keep in a very safe way. So this shield of the environment of the area is very important. So I started observing that I was, in an intuitive way, trying to protect my house from a parapsychic point of view, using this kind of natural barriers. And Valdo Vieira used to say that we should immerse the house inside the green. And some environments, under this condition, we can then protect with the green areas. And this helps a lot our work. And when I realized, and I had this reflection regarding my garden, I had one idea. A very a block idea, clarifying many aspects about my own processes. And I realized that I was creating this environment to protect my house and myself. And one day we have been out with a car, and we saw many araucaria, pine trees, and we passed through this area. I could recall an environment I have seen before, and this idea about protection, about closing or shielding these environments came to my mind. And I could recall some places I visit as a child, and also some places I projected myself as a child. And here I talk about some techniques about Penta, and we have here the enumeration, some effects for the assistant and the recomposition and this condition of phytoectoplasm. So we have the relaxation, the de-assimilation, the recovery, changing of the toxinic block. And in the emphatic phrase, we talk about the self-cognition, or the self-cognitions we need. And we bring here some questions. What is the quality of your theoretical coexistence with plant consciential principles? Do you have a green finger? Is there any special interexistential resource in your daily manifestation? Have you identified extraphysical function helpers more related to phytoectoplasm? And here in the bibliography, I bring some sources. We have a publication from Roberto Lime and other verbets, one from Mirja Kunz, 3. And if you have questions, please feel free to bring your questions. So good morning. We have some questions here. The first question is from Mari Lux, from Foz do Iguaçu. Ana Luiza, can you comment about the first two items of your contextualization? The second is hypothesis, and the first is lignin. And the second question is to comment a bit more about your emphatic phrase. So good morning. In a general aspect, I can bring my own experiences, and we need more research and more researchers bringing their experiences into this team. So one hypothesis we have in Conscienciology is that we have two realities, the consciousness and the energy. And the consciousness needs energy to manifest themselves. So we have this polymer of these complex structures of lignin. And as Waldevieira mentions, botanical energy is based on lignin and manifests itself as phytoectoplasm. And these are hypotheses. And what we should consider is that we have immanent energy we use in our manifestations. And one way to materialize this energy could be a physical material link to this reality, could be lignin. So if it's an essential element, it is very close to the immanent energy than to the consciential energy. But we can argue, well, there are plants, carnivore plants. Well, maybe they are closer to a holotocene from animals. But in principle, we see the plants as a principle close to immanent energy. So maybe the lignin can be or can represent the materialization of this energy. And this well-being we feel when we are closer to nature, we can make an analogy with energosome materialized but without so much information as we have in consciential energies. So in immanent energy is we have this connection with the consciential energy, which has some information. So we have a less contaminated energy in the immanent energy. These are hypotheses. We have a pattern of energetic, we have an energetic pattern, and this will affect our well-being. This is a hypothesis. I don't know if you agree with it. We can contribute also. And the emphatic phrase. So the commitment of the lucid Epicon to interassistential self-qualification, prioritizing the harmonious coexistence with nature, accelerates the evolutionary self-cognitions necessary for the experience of megafraternity. So as we work, we should include these aspects to go deeper into this interassistential process. Of course, we have collective actions regarding nature, but here I bring an interconsciential aspect, dealing with the natural consciential principles. And in this context, the level of self-reflection has to go deeper. Even if you are taking care of a plant, thinking bad about another one, there will be something at some point to affect your discernment and to ask you to reflect about this relationship. And for example, when we have a therapeutic environment, normally we include plants. If one consciousness coming from baratrospheric environments, it's important to manage or to have contact with nature. So good morning. This topic is very important for us at OIC. And I have this qualification as in chemistry. And I was thinking about these aspects of lignin. And I was thinking about this relationship with the air negosome from the plant and a negosome from another being. And how easy it is to make this interaction. For example, the helper interacts with his mental soma, and this is so natural. You don't need to think about anything. You don't need to reflect much about it. You go into nature, you react naturally. The process comes spontaneously. And of course, if it's a holotocene, a very heavy holotocene in this particular place, you will be affected by it. But in general terms, this is very, very natural. So I think this is very physiological, this intermediation between things. I have a friend, he is a biologist, and he sometimes says in nature is very wide. We have the relationships, but we have the parasites, we have this destruction between the beings. But if the person is willing to get better, I remember this experience from my garden. When I was energizing the plant to help her grow, I was always walking, and we used to go to places and to walk in nature very often. Here in Foz, this is very, very good. It's possible. We can go to the park. Yeah, you have the risk to see wild animals, of course, but you can walk and you feel the energy. And within this process, we realize the interactions with the plant. And what you mentioned is very important. We don't need to think about. If you are open for these interactions, you will feel it spontaneously. And this is like a golden mine we don't need to worry about.
Just to remember that Iguaçu Falls, 25% of the ground of Iguaçu Falls is water. And then out of that, 25% is agriculture area. And there are lots of energies, green energies. And I think we have here in Iguaçu Falls only 25% of the city, buildings in the city. And another thing I remember is that we have the conviviology, we might convive, we might coexist with plants, animals, and consciousness. So it's interesting because inside your useful routine, we have the conviviology and we have the connection. We might have the connection between people, plants, and animals. I do agree, because whenever you coexist with nature, you expand your mind, you reflect better. And then, of course, we do have our office with paper, pen, and everything, but it's quite serious if you add some plants and some nature coexistence. Yes, we do have questions here from Eduardo Doria, who used to participate here in the Epicentrism. So can you talk about the green finger? How can we assist better the consciousness that are hard to coexist? Because little by little, we can expand and be specialists on living with other types of life. How can we help with expressing and realizing and materializing this turning point in terms of coexistence? So there is a technique, Eduardo, good morning, thank you. A suggestion I give is you donate a gift. If you like, for example, for those who like a lot green and nature, you can give a nice plant. Whenever you give this gift, you create a rapport with this person, because then you might ask, how is the plant going? No, so this is a strategy. It's like a parapsychogram that you establish in this dimension. Because whenever you ask, because first of all, you gave a gift that the person likes. So this already creates a social process, which is something that we need to prioritize in this moment. This gather chakra by chakra, as we are doing here in Tertuliarium, asking face-to-face for people. So then you create an event like this, in which you are going to have an excuse, then, or even structure and schedule a coffee to give this gift. And then little by little. For example, if it's something that you cannot coexist, you do your best effort to ask about the plant you give. And then little by little, if the person really likes the plant, this person will open his or her defense. And through that, you can establish a good possibility of communication. And with this possibility more amplified, you can deepen more and more in other opportunities. Yes, of course, I'm talking here about a condition of not being able to coexist. For example, you might say, oh, I have manjericão, which is a type of plant I had planted here. Don't you wanna have a little bit of that plant? So you ask about plants, and then it's a little by little process, but it is an opportunity to help by using this plant connection. And going back and talking about the gift is something that you unarmed people. It's very interesting suggestion. Another question from Candida Pessoa, Instructor Ana Luiza. Do you have any hint about using plants inside the Penta practitioner place? Well, Candida, the ideal, if you intend to use plants inside your house, you ought to study with a better criteria which type of plants you should use. But in the environment of your Penta, it's one environment that you had prepared for you to do assistance. Of course, I'm not saying that you are assisting people, you are using immanent energy, but it's like, I'm going to establish an analogy here. Like it was a surgery place. In that environment, it's everything clean. So we are developing the activities from the Penta. So then one day, the extra physical team will be able to install an ophioxis. So that place is in a process of being developed in a more technical way, with more asepsia, more cleansing way, with a very strong parotechnology, a very strong sophisticated parotechnology. So just by the entire holotocene of the house, if you just by the fact that you are developing a very harmonic holotocene inside your house, that is already a milestone. But for example, having plants inside your house, you have to be careful with, because this samambaias, for example, samambaia, it's a typical Brazilian plant that might provoke some sort of allergies. So there are some sorts of plants that we should not have inside our house. So of course you need to study, you are going to study what is more adequate, if you have pets inside or not. There are plants that are toxic and you should not have it. But there are many aspects for you to consider. But do not be concerned about the condition of inside your Penta place. Don't be concerned about having a plant inside of that place. What you need to be more concerned is with your orthotocenity about your house. Right after I built my house, I built a garden, and then I went to talk with Instructor Vieira, and then I asked him, should I use lots of plants? And then he told me back, well, it is like this. It's not about being so organized and having so many plants. It's important. What is important is if your house is prepared to receive a evoluciologist. For example, I can have a house very organized, but from the energetic point of view, might be terrible. So do not be so concerned with having the plant inside your pentaplace. But for example, let's say you have a house that in which you cannot have a garden and you have only 1, 2, or 3 plants there. It's okay, no problem. This is already fantastic, because we will not indicate having either plants or pets inside Tertuliarium. No, so it's not the ideal, because due to the existential process that might generate some sort of extra-physical repercussion that might create any problems, or some sort of problems for the pets or for the plants inside the Tertuliarium place. Good morning, it's an excellent subject. I was reminding here, when you mentioned about the vase, the plants, I remember that once someone told me that he or she, they had difficulties to deal with animals and plants. And then I remember somebody recommended to this person for her to bring home a little plant and then start taking care of this little plant. So I am very grateful, because as you mentioned, we have in CIEC this process of phytoenergy. And I also want to reinforce that I have some sort of difficulties when I see the people cutting tree. I cannot stay closer, because I take care a lot. I am very sensible when people are cutting trees, doing some sort of pruning in the trees. I suffer that a lot. So I wanted to mention something at what you mentioned in the page 3. So let's talk about first about the pruning. Yeah, I have this condition of affinity. I think that many of us, they have this condition of sensibility, but this aspect of pruning, I see this as a process of recycle. Just for you to think about it, it's completely out of that. I'm going to set one example here. All the time, whenever we have a frost in July here in Brazil, I cover the plants. And this year, except last year, as I had many things to do, it was not possible for me to cover the plants, and then frost burn one of the barriers that I have with Exoria, and then the plants, they were burned. And then the person who has been helping, who helped for me, the gardener, and then the gardener, which he's been with me since he was a child, and then he told me, well, Ana, you need to cut, you need to prune. And then he cut it almost everything, and then only the trunk was there. And then when he cut it. It was just something, I'm sorry for the expression, it was like bold, without anything. But today, when you arrive there, you see that everything is normal. There are trees that are planted in wrong places. So this tree has a life risk. I remember 10 years ago, a tree fell down, because where I live, there are many plants like EPs, and many of those EPs, they are condemned, and nobody wanted to cut it. And what is the recommendation? If they are condemned, you need to remove. So conclusion, this tree fell down. So probably this tree with 5 to 6 meters fell down in the tree, as opposed to falling down in the tree. This tree fell down in this, not in the house, in the tree. It was a very strong it was a very strong storm in 2014, and then he went there with a chainsaw, and then he started to cut the tree. So a phrase I was reading in the dictionary, for me to talk here, I was studying. So those events like hurricane, tsunami, from the cosmological point of view, there are free consciousness that are coordinating that, and this might happen. So pruning trees might help. Of course, right pruning, you know, I'm talking about the right stuff. So that will favor the tree. So if the tree was planted in a wrong way, and it might commit or might create problems to a structure. So for example, one tree fell down on top of one house. Just it picked a part of the roof. So in those situations, no, it was missing planning. So one condition for you to investigate as a suggestion is what are the process and if they exist or not. If you have any retrocognitive process related with plants, perhaps it's not even the plant. I'm going to give you one example. One situation once, the person had a sort of guilt towards pets. And then this person would be collecting pets in the streets. Of course, we need to help, but it was something very emotional just due to the guilt. And in some moment, the person went to do a consciential therapy in the conscienciocentric institution, and then this person had a retrocognition, and then this person perceived this guilt process. It was totally connected with the person, not related with the pets. So what happened? The helpers, they were showing to the person that the condition of the chronic guilt that the person has not digested or overcome would be creating effects in any other situations with pets and even with other conditions. So when the person realized that, this person changed it from the rational point of view, the way in which the person assisted. So observe if there is another emotional process that might be associated with that. Of course, we don't like when we see people cutting trees. We hate that. When we see people devastating green areas without any sustainable planning, this is very sad. But if we suffer beyond the normal situation, if this is the case, we need to study to see if there is anything extra that is not related as a hypothesis. I think Ivo wanna complement, is that? So this technique, it's like this. When I started to do Penta was on April 2003. I was living in Rio de Janeiro. I used, in the first months, the helpers, they gave me a few ideas about a few protocols. Okay, you are going to work with the vibrational state, you are going to exteriorize energy, so on and so forth. And then I started to do that. And then one day I did a laboratory in CIEC. This laboratory, I don't know if you guys heard about this physical immobility, which you have to stay 3 hours without moving your body. And then I received this insight. Do you wanna have the intensification of the vibrational state? And then I was just thinking about it. And then I received this insight for me to serialize energy. And then I started to stereorize energy for the environment to be white, lots of energy. And then I was just looking and that suddenly a huge diminutive energetic dimension involved myself. So that experimentation, the insight was for me to apply in the Penta practitioner. So every time, whenever I finished my Penta, I work with energies, and then I exteriorize the energies to create this energetic dimension inside my entire house as a technique of encapsulating my house. I can do this with myself. I can do this with people inside my house. I can involve with everybody and everything. Start from the vibrational state, start from exteriorizing energies. So you exteriorize lots of energies, creating you can even create a mental image, like something everything is white, and then you create like a huge bubble of energies that can amplify, even going beyond your house. It can you can even expand to the neighborhood and even to the city and to the planet, if you may say. What you observe in this moment, if there is anything that is intruded, you can perceive that right in the moment. So it is like you are washing your energosphere. So if you exteriorize energy and if you practice vibrational state, whenever you are applying this to your energetic field, you can perceive right away, because you are washing yourself. So this is fantastic from the encapsulation point of view. So I encourage that. So the question here is on page number 3. Could you talk about the principal precautions in the item protection? Let me see if I find here item protection. Here, protection. Could you talk a little bit about the plants that are cultivated inside the house? So good morning. I'm not a biologist or a botanic. I am a chemical engineer, so I am not aware. I don't know all the vegetal species for you to tell you. So what you need to research? You need to speak with someone who is more technical in this area. What I know is that you need to have a plant that will not spread any toxic things that might disturb allergy or pets or children. So there is no plant that can represent a risk for children. So you need to have something friendly, in your domestic, in your house. So in the external environment, whenever I mention protection here, so what I mean is that the plant there create a vegetal barrier, and that vegetal barrier helps with the parapsychic protection. I remember when I was a children in my grandmother's house, she had a barrier of a plant called Coroa de Cristo. It is, in English, is Christ's crown. And this plant is full of spice. So that was example of not to do, because of course, my grandmother, she has children there, and that was kind of risky because children, they have this ability of touching everything. So having, having thorns, it's not exactly the best in your plants. So we, of course, in the gardens, we find snakes, spiders, and those worms. And other sort of animals that you might take care, because there are some animals like the shrimp, for example, that we needed to take care of that. So I am concerned with plants that are not poisonous in all the environment. But you might speak with people that are more technical. But I am not a biologist, but I will not place a plant inside my house with a name Comigo Ninguém Pode, which is a Brazilian plant that we can translate as nobody can with me. It's a sort of toxic plant with this name. So of course, people sell on vase plants to send bad energies away. So pay attention, it's not exactly plants that will send your bad energy away. If you want to send bad energies away, you work with energies and exteriorize your best. That will send your bad energies away. So I want to ask about the assisting. I want to ask about when people are being born. So being born, do you think that people, this sort of ectoplasmia help when people are being born right away? I think this might help. I had an interesting experience long time ago, and then a person asked for some sort of assistance in the penta, in my penta, and this person asked me. It was not a formal asking for help. It was actually my student that a student I had that mentioned that the companionship would be was trying hard to have a baby, and it was every time this person was having abortion. And then I decided to bring this person and place this person in my penta. And then I remember that Instructor Vieira used to talk about this atomic bomb. And I remember that once I received this insight for helpers, helping me to understand that there are people that they have such a huge toxinic disorganization that the level of disorganization is so big that it's even hard to help people to be born. So there are people with very strong difficulties on fixating this psychosoma, and those people they have difficulties to to promote babies materialization. So then I received the insight that the process was not something simple, but I don't remember, I don't know exactly what happened after, but in these cases of spontaneous abortions, I remember that in a projectology congress, Instructor Vieira mentioned that, I don't want to generalize here, folks, it might be related with suicide. It might be connected with a suicide person. So the person committed suicide, and the helpers, they try to help the person to be born right away. And in the case of that person, this person was very predisposed to repeat this suicidal process and to experience the abortion again. So I am thinking about Burle Marx here. Let's think about Burle Marx with his mentality. He was a very hard figure. They were never together. They were never in a very well relationship between him and Oscar Niemeyer. So for them to understand so let's think about Burle Marx. Let's imagine how much Burle Marx will be if he was able to understand about phytoectoplasm. I remember in Minas Gerais, we have an open museum in the middle of the nature. As a hypothesis, I'm thinking now that sometimes people who are more materialistic, but there is a process that is well organized in the composition of environments that are so positive. So there is a strong merit of the person, no? So the self-reflexarium, for example, it's an organized environment for that. So this condition of the architecture, I think it's very serious for us to have the environments in which we can develop specific activities. So the botanic issue is quite serious due to everything that we are going to deal from the holosomatic point of view. So we have the effects, the intraphysical effects. If you have manjericão, for example, I mentioned this because I bought that in a supermarket, and then that end up becoming a gremlin. So Gremlin is a movie that you guys need to study. It's from the 80s, no? So you placed a little bit and then it spread away. Even my cat, the cat likes this manjericão smell. I think manjericão in English is basil. I'm sorry, guys, it's basil. So we have a question here from Teresa Cristina. Good morning, Anna. I have lots of plants around my house. I've been realizing that those plants, they help me in the Penta. I have been trying to develop an environment closer to a forest. Many pets had been arriving, like a well-being field. I think, Teresa, it's fantastic. What you need to observe is, using the experience of many people I have been talking, is the condition of the care and the relationship you have between your health and this environment. For example, if you have a forest, No, let's say you have your inside your house. It's interesting. For example, you might be concerned about the mold inside your house, because sometimes you might even consider using a dehumidification. So you mentioned pets. So in this environment, for example, you are walking, it's not uncommon for you to assist birds. Then you pick the bird is there, either is a baby bird, had something in his wing, walls and windows. You need to place some sort of adhesive, some sort of sticker. And then I remember I saw a bird that was dead in my garden. And then I thought, oh, poor bird. But of course, you need to place a sticker, because in the window, when flies are flying, when birds are flying, they might get disturbed through the reflex of the window. So we have another question. So instructor Anna, I have been studying the trees internet. It's like a neural net. Yes, when you see the trees, it links like, it seems like a neural tree. I see the interassistential potentialization. Do you see the relationship between phytoectoplasmy and mental somatic field? Yes, there is lots of relationship. Due to your work, I think yes, I see a strong connection. One environment in which you have a profusion of immanent energies, energy of phytoectoplasmy, you can think better, you can rationalize better, you can structure your ideas better. The helpers, they can access this environment. This is the most critical point. The helpers can connect more with the writers, because the environment has relaxation that promotes the entry of the helpers. I think this is an environment that helps a lot for us to have this elaboration of our mind structure. It's fantastic when, for example, when you have your office with the window connected with the garden. Right after he sent it another message asking if this connection potentialized your mental soma. This connection between phytoectoplasmy and mental somatic field, do you think this potentialized the parasecurity? Yes, because I think that one of the aspects that are connected with parasecurity is the quality of our self-tokenization. Let me translate. If in the big majority of the time I prioritize tokenic structure that is more positive, in a sense of recycling what is necessary, having a more important process, a more uplifting process, this environment constitutes a process of defense, energetic defense, which is a parasecurity. whenever we get used with this movement, in honor to the 3 consciential therapists that I have today here with me, you can deepen in your self-cognition. So all the traumas, they popped out. So people end up being more in peace with himself or herself. This is the principle parasecurity. If you associate that with an environment enriched with immanent energy, it's fantastic for you to write and do whatever you want to do. And there is a point, the intruders, they will not be feeling well and good in this environment.
So thank you very much for bringing this topic. When you talk about pandemics, I thought about we had more space for our manifestations. And I like very much your hypothesis about this mega link keeping life and all manifestations. And reflecting more about lignin, I want you to expand this regarding the link with mental somatic fields. So for me, I have a very good relationship with lignin. But when I left Belo Horizonte and I went to Amazonas, I had some moments I felt very sad. And every time I went to nature was very, very positive. I got very good influence from lignin. But I was in a small town, Caricatu, and there was a necrosary, a place with dead people. And there were some experiments there. They were experimenting some drugs, some medicaments. And when we go there today, we see that the vegetation is much bigger. The trees did grow very much, but we still feel a lot of suffering. So I think that maybe these are the consciousness there, the conscience feeding out of this energy. So we have this impregnation of suffering in this area. So as a hypothesis, we can say that maybe this assistance did not finish yet. Sometimes we see people leaving some buildings. And one day we had this experience. We see some places we should not be there. Places like abandoned houses, and people have suffered there. They have been ill, and we feel the effects on these places. And when I will give you my vision as an engineer. I think when we destroy one building, one house, we should destroy everything. We should not leave anything behind. So the conscience leave, and the conscience also will not remain there. And you can say Well, nature and natural principles can help. Well, they can do the best they can. What I think is that the concepts are still there, benefiting from the environment. Yeah, these are all hypotheses. But my meaning is, if you want to finish something, you should finish everything. But you are the expert on this area. And if you see degraded areas, historically, we can make an analogy. For example, places from the Second World War. We should consider how to destroy it and up to which point we should go without destroying the history. I want to make a point. Phytoenergy helps a lot, but in certain cases, it doesn't solve the problems. In this case, I think we need positive consciential energies to change the environment. For example, a place of a battle in the USA, people still find things remaining parts from this battle. You don't need to go there to get to this conclusion. It's a very beautiful place, but the energy is very bad. So the fact that the environment is beautiful, it's nice, doesn't mean that the energy is also good. And the energy from the consciousness is stronger than the immanent energy. So we will need something to change, other consciential energies to change the energy of this place. The immanent energy will help, but we need consciential energies. I agree with you. I think it's not just the immanent energy. Sometimes a pathological consciential energy will cover or overtake the immanent energy. We should not romanticize this aspect. When you clean these environments, of course, the phytoenergy will help a lot. But you should not be naive that just the immanent energy will be enough to clean the place. This is my point. What I want to mention is if you take a medicine, you have the active principle. And I'm thinking about nature, the contact with trees, considering evolution of our species in our planet. Our body, our structure, including our mental part, developed with nature, with the sounds, with the smell. And many times we feel this when we go to another city, to another place. And we feel that we disconnected from nature. So we are part of nature. This is a natural process. And this soma is a way, our body works in a way to organize the energies. So it doesn't mean that you will be able to organize yourself in any place, in every place. So we have to separate these 2 points. And I would like to ask you to comment about olerization, this smell. Sometimes we feel perfume of flowers, and sometimes I feel mint, smell of mint. Well, I perceived sometimes I had this experience. I have one hypothesis that it's a kind of materialization. If I feel, smell, perceive the perfume, the smell, normally we are in a place, in an environment with a lot of ectoplasm. We have this research from Charles Richer on this. He worked on albumin and proteins, the composition of ectoplasm. So ectoplasm is something semi-physical. So to feel the smell, I need the sensitization of my body. And maybe this is the materialization of this ectoplasm. That's why we feel the perfume. Maybe this is the simplest way to make it, but this is very good, very nice. And I think we should start this more to understand the process, to reach this point, to plasm something. And I don't know the effects of this phenomenon for the people being assisted. Maybe we have a psychological process together. These are all hypotheses. Just reminding us about this peace monument here at CIEC. We had this context of the battle, and this was a kind of the intrusion regarding this stone. So as we interact with nature, we naturally change ourselves, we qualify ourselves. And in terms of robotization, if we leave this natural world, we have their own speed, their own conditions, and then we create robotization, a robotic way to live, producing more, and we are not happy, then we get away from nature and we lose biologically this interaction. Our planet has a nature. If we resonate it here, we should think how many lives we had on this planet before. This is an impregnated process. And if we are away from this, we get ill, we get disease. And I was also reflecting how man affects nature. We have many examples about fire in nature. For example, in the USA, we see this every year. This is a natural phenomenon. And if we interfere on the natural process, we are changing, we are interfering, somehow affecting nature. So man affects nature in order to dominate nature, but gets ill. So nowadays people talk a lot about destruction of Amazon, but this is very complex. And nature has been dominated in a way by the behavior of man. So it's important to start this relationship between human beings and nature. Yeah, in the USA, we have a case of very old trees. They had to be fired. They needed to be destroyed. So I want to mention here two books. They are not mentioned in the paper, but I will include them in the book. In the book about the epicentrism in debate. This book is 50 plants that change the direction of human or history. So before we commented about this, what we do with plants also has a karma, positive karma. We have many plants here in this book, including fruits and spice and cacao. And this is a history about the plants. So the human process, industrialization, and the use of the plants for other meanings, different from the original meaning. And there is another book from, these are about 50 unforgettable gardens. This book is very nice. For example, there are some gardens from palaces. And for example, here is a picture from the National Palace of Toulouse. And there are some pictures and a bit of the history. So it's like an appetizer to start these studies. And we can also connect with the things from Monja. And there are many pictures here. And these references will be in the book we are preparing. So there is another question from Eduardo Doria. He says, in example 1, trees, page 2, line 7. So example 1, page 2, line 7. The consciex you notice in the nested plant in the condition of parasites also could energetically be a parasite for domestic animals in your house. Well, I had 2 cats at that time. And what we actually perceive regarding the pets is that when the energy of an environment is heavier, we see that they are affected. For example, I have one cat from this tree. She is 17 years old. She is together with us for a long time. So we understand her in a way. When she communicates with us, we understand, and we feel during Penta, she manifests in another way. So this is reported by other people, and it's recommended to pay attention to the repercussions we may have on our pets. So sometimes if we face heavier energetic fields, we should pay attention to our pets. Sometimes regarding an important decision or relationships with other people. So we should be careful regarding our pets and children as well. this question about animals, we should also remind ourselves that they can be affected in as a vampire way, vampirism. And I remember that Valdo Vieira mentioned once that he had to stop the car to help the intrusion in a dog. He stopped and assisted this dog because the consciences were in a very pathological vampirism on this dog. Another question, can we assume that there is also symbiosis between the consciex and the plant in a win-win relationship beyond the consciex-plant parasitic relationship? How to assist energivorous consciexes? Well, the positive synergies we can see between the helpers and the plants. The helpers using the energies from the plants in a positive way without making bad for this plant. And we cannot say that this is a symbiosis. We can mention here the situations of some Acoplamentarium and some field courses. There is a cosmoethical positive use of energies from the plants, but we cannot say that this is a symbiosis. So the last part, how to assist an energivorous consciex. Well, you have to establish some strategies and you have to identify which one will work better for you. And which one will be possible to apply. When we have these energivorous consciex, we have also a multipolar consciex, in which case nothing is enough. So we can mention about this blocking, this parasecurity, protecting yourself to avoid this intrusion from consciex. But sometimes I also have seen situations, a predisposition to assist this kind of consciexes, giving energy first, and after this first stage, then we can have a kind of dialogue. We can interact in another level. Sometimes at the beginning, the consciex is very in problems, in troubles. So it's important to have the first stage. When I moved to Foz, I took part in parapsychic dynamics 5 times a week. And once I was very relaxed and I saw a helper, a female helper, and she was in a big garden playing with children. And in the middle of this garden, there was a source of energy, and the children were playing with her, and they went in direction to this source of energy. And I never understood it. But now, when Ivo mentioned about Resoma, I thought maybe in this process of Resoma, maybe the phytoenergy is a very important aspect of the process to resonate. This is a very subtle process, but it goes into a very heavy dimension, dealing with ectoplasm in a more physical way. And I'm thinking about the fetal period, which for me is the most difficult period. It sounds like it's a big challenge for the consciousness to assume, to understand the process of resoma. And I think we need to research more about the process of resoma. We don't have any more questions from the chat, but maybe here, people at the Tertuliarium. Well, I think it's important to bring some reflections about the importance of this relationship with the botanic Holocene. We mentioned several aspects, very important here, and we should take what is best, what is the best aspect. And the activities of Conscienciology, we should prioritize to be present, to be on site in Foz do Iguaçu, to be here at the Tertuliarium, to take part in course and field and activities. There are many activities now restarting at the OIC and CIEC and many other CIs. So this aspect to be present, presential activities are very important. And we also should mention the effects from the pandemics. From one side, we see a kind of accommodation in a new condition. And we are very grateful for all these people participating, and people from other countries, other continents. And what I want to say is about the importance to be on site, to get together, to face, to make good use, to benefit from the new condition we have now. And I want to mention about some events. The first one is about the Dictionary of Consciential Therapeuticology. We have the first edition will be launched, and people can buy it in advance. We have a special price until 2nd of September. It's 290 reais. You can buy it online, and you can access and buy this dictionary at the website of OIC. And this is a very important publication because it's a result of a big group of consciential therapeutes, and it represents an upgrade for this specialty, consciential therapy. So this is the first edition, so access the website and you can buy it. And the second one is to invite everyone, including those English speakers, and also the Portuguese speakers also, and those who are able to speak Portuguese. So we have the International Weekend of Conscienciology from today until Sunday, 14th of August. And these activities are available. Many are free of charge. You can enroll in these activities through the website of CIEC. On Sunday, we have an on-site activity, which is Agora, International Agora, dealing with the internationalization of Conscienciology. It will be in English, but people can participate and talk in Portuguese and Spanish. We will have people here and also online. And you can enroll at the website of CIF. I would like to say thank you very much again for the participants here at the Tertuliarium, the online people, online participants, and the team from Tertuliarium with all the structure for translation. So the translators from Isaac with the simultaneous translation, and the volunteers from Tertuliarium, Isaac, who made this possible, this event possible today. And I would like to invite you to participate in the next activities. Thank you very much, Ana Luiza. So today in this debate number 127, we had 42 people at the Tertuliarium. We had 162 online participants, and we have the next epicentrism in debate is the extra physical shield to decimating consciousness, and Roberto Lime will be the Epicon. So thank you very much for everyone who participated and helped us in this event. Thank you very much.